Oh yeah! That was pretty smooth for this hard wood. Welcome back to the Bulletproof Handyman business channel, and today I have a Ryobi 1 brushless skill saw. This one is the P508. It's running for about $125 right now, just standard retail, you know, at your big box stores. So we're going to open this baby up and we're going to test it out. Now this is the first tool review on my channel, so I'm going to tell you how we're going to do these. Is I'm going to be testing for real life conditions. And I'm not going to be getting super picky about all the minute details. The question I'm asking is this a good value for my money for my business? But first I want to say something that's going to apply to all of my tool reviews from this point on into the future. Let's say you have a job to replace a rotten sink cabinet bottom, and you need to get yourself and your tools to that job. A 1994 Ford Taurus can and will get you and your tools to that job just the same as a 2024 heavy-duty 3500 Duramax Super Diesel High Country Edition Chevy pickup. Brand new, dually extended cab, big old service bed on the back, big running lights on top. Deck it out as much as you want. The 1994 Ford Taurus is going to get you to that job exactly the same way that brand new, super expensive pickup's going to get you there. Now, is the super expensive pickup better than the Ford Taurus? Well, objectively, yes, in almost every way, unless you value gas mileage, maybe. That's about the only place I think the Ford Taurus is going to really shine there. But my point is this: both will get the job done. And the same thing goes with tools. This is a tool, and it's going to cut the wood that you need it to cut regardless. This is not a box cutter, and yet look how it gets the exact same job done that a box cutter would get done. In fact, maybe even better, I don't know. But the point is a tool is a tool, and what I don't want is for any of you to be putting off starting your handyman business or thinking that you're just not ready or that you cannot invest the way that you need to invest to be able to have a successful business simply because you can't afford Milwaukee or Makita or whatever brand it is that you think you really need to have for your business. This is a $125 tool only. It's brushless, so that's even better. They do make cheaper ones, but $125 for a skill saw is just fine. And then one last thing, guys, I bought a lot of my tools that I still use. I don't go buy new tools for no reason. I bought a lot of the tools that I use every day in my business at pawn shops and yard sales. Do not be afraid to buy used. Do not be afraid to buy 18 volt. If you find something old that's 12 volt, you know what? Get it and use it. Make some money with it and use that money to then go purchase better tools later on. But start with what you have. The best tool, as I always say, the best tool is the tool that you have. So this is the tool I had for opening that box. If this is a tool I have for cutting some lumber and some plywood, then this will get the job done. So let's go ahead and dive into the tool. Now, first of all, it's got the safety guard here. I do like that I can grab it with my thumb like that because I do some particular types of cutting where I want to move that guard out of the way before I cut. We'll also go up to 56 degrees right here. If we need to cut anything at an angle, that works and turns nice and smooth. We have a safety feature right here that we have to push in before we can pull the trigger. I like the safety feature. It's nice and comfortable, and apparently it can be used from the left or the right, so that's good. And then down here we have this lever to release so we can set the depth. Everything slides nice and smooth. The lever gets nice and tight. Let's check it at both full extension and zero extension. Works good there. Zero. Works good there. Looks like we've also got our Allen wrench right here in the butt, so we can use that for changing our blades on here. And then finally, our battery is going to go right in the side. Nice and tight. Everything is nice and compact. I do like how compact it feels. It does feel good in my hands here. So let's take that battery out real quick and go ahead and put a blade in. This one does come with a blade. Now this is a tool only, so it did not come with a battery, but it did come with a blade. Generally, almost all of these tools are going to be about the same. You're going to have some sort of stop that you can push in. For ours, it's right here. I don't know if you can see that very well. So here's your button that you're going to push to lock the arbor in place. Just get that button pushed in, grab your Allen wrench up here, and now typically when you go to take these off, whether you're using a Allen wrench or a crescent wrench or whatever, these are usually going to be reverse threaded, so you're going to go to the right to take that off instead of to the left. These are not going to be lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, they're going to be the opposite. And then we just go ahead and pull this off, get our new blade, slide it up in here. Here we go. By the way, these blades are always going to cut away from you, so you should see the teeth ripping up away from you as they come through the board. Drop this guy back in there, and then like I said, it's threaded backwards, so we're going to turn it to the left in order to tighten it. Easy money. I like that, nice and tight. There we go. Let's pop the battery in real quick and just see how it feels. A little bit of a slow start. Doesn't have a great break on it. I do like it when they break earlier. But again, guys, this is small potatoes. This is very likely to get the job done exactly the same way any other skill saw would get the job done. So far, here's what I've noticed. It's comfortable in my hands, it's slow to start, and it's slow to stop, but everything else seems just fine at this point. Now I'm going to be testing this for 4 things today: precision, toughness, edge cases, and ease of use. For precision, what I'm going to be doing is getting a nice sharp pencil and marking a piece of 1/2 inch plywood with a very thin line, and I'm going to see if I can split that line in half, because with most of my tools, generally, with skill saws especially, I can split a line in half, which means I'm as accurate as any handyman ever needs to be. If you need more accuracy than that, then you're not a handyman, you're a fine carpenter in a cabinet shop. So first I'll try to split a nice thin line in half. The next is going to be toughness. Now for toughness, I'm going to be ripping about 24 feet of lumber. And yes, I have needed to rip more than 24 feet in the past, but that's why I carry corded backups to all of my cordless tools. You want to take care of these. You don't want to wear out the batteries by being outside in 100-degree heat and trying to rip through 100 feet of lumber. So I'm going to rip through 24 feet of lumber to test the toughness, because that is a real-world scenario for me. And then the next thing I'm going to test is what I call edge cases. And for me, for one of these, an edge case is going to be cutting firewood, actually. I do a lot of camping, I'm a handyman, I own tools, and this, believe it or not, a nice skill saw is going to rip through firewood for you so much faster than just about anything other than a high-powered gasoline chainsaw. And I'm going to be using my skill saws for ripping through firewood, so I want to make sure that I have a skill saw that is capable of ripping through all that firewood. And then finally, I'm going to be testing it for just simple fit and function. And what I mean by that is how comfortable is it to hold, how much does it vibrate, is it just a handy tool to have, or is there something weird and clunky about it that's going to make me wish I had a different tool? And if the fit and function aren't great, that's okay if it still gets the job done, but I will be giving my opinions with my final takeaways on just the general fit and function of this tool. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's get a nice thin line marked on some 1/2 inch plywood. Alright, let's take our level and our pencil. Get a nice thin line drawn on there. This is a sharp pencil tip. As you can see, it's not super blunted and dull. Maybe you can't see perfectly, but this is a sharp pencil tip. Go ahead and grab our tool, and all I'm going to do is just start cutting this, guys. Now, I do have a trick that I like to do when I want really straight lines, which is I'm going to line the front up right here. I'm going to line this up where I know the blade is supposed to be cutting at the 0 mark, and then I'm going to come to the back, and I'm going to drop down right on top of this line, just like this. This gets me started in the right place, and then I can just go ahead and pull this out. As you can see, I'm not clamping anything down, I'm not doing anything special. Alright, so now I've got that much of this cut, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a close-up of the actual line down here, and we'll see how close I came to splitting this line in half. And do keep in mind, I just took this out of the box. I haven't used this tool before, So this was my first time using it. I'm not even super comfortable or experienced with just how this one feels. And we're going to take a look at how good this line is. Now here's the cut I made. You can see where it's a little wider over here where I first dropped down into it. But can you see that pencil line where it's cut in half? And then moving up here further. Now we did start to get a lot of tear out. I think that has more to do with the quality of this old wood than anything else. You can see where I moved off the line a little bit there, got back on it. But this, guys, is a very close-up view. And as you can see, for a brand new tool that I haven't even used before, that is not a bad cut for the very first time. So, yeah, I think I'm going to say that I like this. Again, this was my first time using the saw, and yet the cut still isn't all that bad. It's going to be perfectly acceptable for anything other than finished carpentry. And I think if I use the saw just a couple more days, I'd probably be splitting lines in half with it every single time. So I'm going to call that a pass for precision. All right, the next thing I told you I'm going to check is toughness. The way I'm going to do that is ripping a bunch of lumber. So let me grab the lumber real quick. And the way that we're going to do this here is we're just going to do multiple rips into this one piece of lumber here. What I'm looking for is like 16 to 24 feet, something in that range. So I'm just going to make a bunch of lines down here. We can do about 3 feet per line. And we've already got a line there. And I'll just rip each of these lines one right after the other. Now guys, what I'm going to be looking for as I rip this is not just its ability to rip. I'm sure it's going to be capable of ripping, but I'm going to be ripping it with a little bit of force. I'm going to be putting some weight into it, because when I'm on the job, I need to be able to just get this job done and move on to the next job. And I don't want to be having to go real slow and to baby any of my tools through a job, because that's not going to have me being very efficient. So these lines are about 3 feet long each, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's going to give me 24 feet. If I can rip through 3 feet of each of these lines, then that's going to give me a total of 24 feet. And here we go. Now, I'll do this one in real time, and one of the things I want you to pay attention to is I'm going to put just a little bit more force, and you're going to see how it shuts down every time I put just a little bit more force on here. I would like to be able to go a little bit faster. This isn't the end of the world, but I would like to be able to go a little faster. And now I'll just do it at normal speed. Alright, so we've got all of our cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cuts times 3 feet each. That's 24 feet worth of ripping lumber. Now let's take a look at the saw. The battery is not very hot, actually, which surprises me. That should be a hot battery. And yes, I'm in an air-conditioned room, but still, this battery I think should be hotter. So that's a bonus. Otherwise, the saw did perform fine. I didn't notice anything off about it. It wasn't too uncomfortable in my hands. Now, I can feel the extra weight of the battery over there on the right. But again, I mean, that's such a small deal, honestly. This is a heavy tool. You're going to get heavier tools when you're buying cheaper tools. That's just one of the trade-offs. But I think one of the biggest points I want to make to you guys is this. This tool just got the job done. If I needed to rip 24 feet of fascia to go replace a whole bunch of fascia, which is the most I'm ever going to be doing, honestly, as a handyman, if I needed to rip those 24 feet, I just got 24 feet ripped. look here, this is all ripped and there's nothing wrong with it. It's nice straight lines. I even got more and more comfortable just with staying on the line. You know, I wasn't even trying on these, and I can see that I basically stayed on the line all the way down on most of these rips. And again, that's without even trying. So I'm gonna say this saw definitely passed the toughness test. The only downside was I had to back off of it just a little bit. I had to back off just a little from where I wanted to be in order to get those cuts to not shut the saw down. But all of those cuts, all combined, didn't take me more than just maybe 3 or 4 minutes at the most. So for the difference of 3 or 4 minutes to cut 24 feet worth of fascia, not a bad deal at all. Let's see what's next on our list here. Edge cases, oh yeah. So we're gonna rip through some actual firewood and just make sure that this guy will make it through some really dense mesquite firewood. All right, here we go. We've actually got some oak and some mesquite. The mesquite came from my father-in-law. This tree was cut down about 6 months ago. And this oak we got on a camping trip, so I don't know when it died, but it is not rotten or old or anything. This is a very dense, nice piece of oak. And we're just gonna start slicing right through it. All I'm checking is just to make sure that this saw can handle slicing through it. So bring the guard up. In fact, let's give us as much, yep, that's the maximum amount of blade we can get out of her. And here we go. Oh yeah! That was pretty smooth for this hard wood. Do one more on the mesquite. That's not too bad. Not too bad. Not perfect, but not bad either. Let's get you out of the way. And next is the oak. Pretty rough on the oak here. Try that one more time. Yeah. The oak is a lot tougher for this saw, that's for sure. Actually, were we in a knot? We may have been in a knot because that line went nice and smooth. Let's try one more, just see what happens. Ooh, like butter. So, one more. Yeah, I think we just had something going on with this one, because you know what? These two and this one right here are actually nice and smooth. So this is a pass on this saw as well for edge cases. All right, guys, final takeaways. The truth is, this is not a bad saw. This is a brushless. Do I wish it had a little bit more power, just a little bit more torque so that it didn't shut itself off and get bound up when I pushed a little too hard? I mean, yeah, that would be nice, but the truth is this saw just took care of everything I needed it to take care of. It's about $125 retail. We did all this with a cheap blade that just comes standard with the saw, so, I mean, this is a good deal. I would say, honestly, that if you need to start your business and what's holding you up is not being able to afford Milwaukee or DeWalt or whatever brand it is that you think you need to have, just get yourself a Ryobi. Again, I'm not saying you need to get Ryobi. I'm saying if that's your only choice, then just go ahead and pull that trigger, get your Ryobi, and if you want to upgrade to something else later, go make some money with your Ryobi and upgrade later. But I think this was a nice little saw. I can understand why some of y'all are using this as professional saws within your handyman business. So I tell you what, I'm going to give this saw a 37.5 out of a total possible 53 points. And if you guys want to let me know what tool you'd like to see me review next, let me know and I'll see if I can get my hands on one. But until then, I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see you on the next one.